All right. Well, I think today I'm just I'm gonna reach immediately for the beers.
Okay.
That's how I'm gonna do it today.
Please do, Justin.
Yeah.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
I'm here with my friend Jose Lopez, the executive chef at Sentido Norte. Jose, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Always nice to drop by and share a beer with friends.
Yeah, that's how I feel. We've got one sponsor for the show so far, and it's the illustrious Potrero Brewing Company. So they've set us up with a couple beers. I got a stout, which is a great breakfast beer. You know, I believe that they feed stout to pregnant ladies in Ireland still.
Well, I mean,
okay, I've got other choices.
No, that's fine. I mean, I don't know why you looked at my belly when you said pregnant Irish.
No, that was it was a coincidence. Yeah. It was a coincidance.
Well, I happened to live there for 6 months.
Did you? You lived in Dublin, didn't you?
Yeah.
You went to hospitality school, or you went to?
I actually
worked there.
I actually went to school in Florida in Boca Raton for hotel management, and they opened up a program in Dublin. It was called the American University. It's closed now. It didn't go through, but it was open for a couple of years, and they needed guinea pigs to go and that magical sound.
So you were a guinea pig?
Yeah. They asked a bunch of students that, if they wanted to go and try it out, and they would credit us with the classes we took, which would not be the ones that we were going to take back at school in Florida. And I said, sure, why not?
What a great experience.
Who hasn't heard of Ireland and their folk and their country and the people? And it is all true. They're some of the kindest people on earth. And
are the Irish the Costa Ricans of Europe?
Well, it is. There's a lot of similarities. I find three cultures very similar to each other: the Irish, the Canadian, and the Costa Ricans. There's the kindness in the streets that you meet anybody, and they can chat to you. The bars, the pubs, you go in there and you start a conversation with anybody. I'm talking about when I was growing up. It used to be like that a lot. And when I went to Ireland, I didn't miss a beat. Literally, pubs is where everything goes on. I think
the Irish and the Irish pubs, that's where you get the great talkers. Like they're
totally
great. They're interested in finding out about you, and they're interested in telling a story. You know.
Yeah, and weather's it's always raining. It's a drizzle. It's pineapple juice like they call it in Hawaii. It's not a monsoonic Costa Rican rain, but everybody's families are having lunch or dinner, and you get live music in most great pubs, and it's really a good time. So and you're not just going into a bar to go get hammered, which eventually happens, but
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah, but they have food, and they have all the games going on, all the football, rugby, everything going on. So it's and there's all of them have so much history in all of those pubs. So
I think that the great Costa Rican bars are like that too. The thing that I don't see anywhere else, and I see less and less here in Costa Rica, are bocas.
Yeah, and
if you could explain what a boca is, maybe. You
sure.
want the stout, or you want the this is the salted sandia, like a sour.
Since I haven't had breakfast, let's go with a little bit of sandia.
Oh, there you go. Or I got a blueberry wheat here that I'm trying for the first time.
Well, a little
Look
bit
at that
of
beautiful color.
Yeah, it is. A little bit of watermelon.
Yeah, I'll put the
beer.
stout back for the dessert course.
Thank you. Well, Justin, let me tell you, when I was growing up, I'm 50 now. When we were growing up, hold on.
No. 50? No way.
Yeah. You're
a young man.
Thank you. I feel young. When we were like late teens, It would be a tradition when you were. I mean, me being from the capital, from the Central Valley. I mean, originally Chepeño, like Paseo Colón, right in the middle of San Jose. That's where I grew up. My father from Punta Arenas. My mom from San Jose. Grew up in San Jose. She was born in Canada, but she grew up in San Jose. And every time you went out to a rural area or a coastal town, the voyage there was probably even better than the time at your destination. Why? Because you would take your time. There weren't, of course, I mean, half of the cars that you find now. So it was a very nice ride, and you would know the stops along the way. Sometimes you didn't make it there. I mean, you would stay along the way. I remember one time I was going to Puerto Viejo, never made it there. Stayed in Limon for the weekend because the bars and the bocas were so great and the good times, and you would know the bartenders and you would get to know the locals. And depending on the region of the country, bocas change. Of course, you get to the coast and it would be traditional to get ceviche everywhere and sopa de mariscos, a little bit of seafood soup, seafood broth. Now a boca is a little ration, right? A little hors d'oeuvre, or Hawaiians
I think it's a good idea, especially if you're drinking for the long haul.
It's a great idea because you're having some food on your belly.
Tommy, you know what a boca is? You ever had a boca?
I have no idea. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, it's a little ration, and some places, I mean, most places back then would have them included.
Like it would come with your beer. Like you would get a tiny little bowl of ceviche with your beer. So you just had a little bit of something coming in.
Like chips and salsa kind of, but instead it's
smaller.
ceviche.
It wasn't like a bowl on the plate. It was just like a little dish or a little bowl.
Now you can do it either three ways. You can either get a little ration of something that's available in a bigger version on the menu, so they get you to try it, and then you fall for it. Not you fall for it, but you get enticed.
Yeah.
And then you ask for it.
Taste buds going.
Exactly. Then you get a little bite as a courtesy, or there's bars that only open and only work in Boca, so the beer is going to be cheaper, and they have a Boca's menu, and that's their whole menu. And it's supposed to be. It used to be really inexpensive and really good in most cases. Now, the thing that what is now what people think that is just chifrijo everywhere, and chifrijo this and chifrijo that. Now chifrijo,
hey, nothing wrong with chifrijo.
No, but chifrijo is new. Chifrijo, I mean, in the spectrum of time, chifrijo is one of the newest ones. It's recently available. It started in a bar in Tibás, close to Saprissa Stadium.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I ended up there a couple of times after games. And
are you a Saprissa fan?
Yeah. And I used to, didn't go to the bleachers, and afterwards you would go for lunch, and it's walkable distance. So that's how chifrijo came. But in the older versions, it's here in the coast. You would have seafood soup, you would have ceviches, you would have cheese tacos, you have beans with a little pork, frijoles con pezuña, soups, lots of.
I remember like a tripe soup sometimes.
Sope mondongo, yeah. Even in some places, turtle eggs, unfortunately.
Now some of those are legal.
Some are legal, yeah. Some are legal. Close to. Yesterday I actually passed in front of Ostional, and I saw a bar there. Some of them are legal. There's one in Barco Quebrado, which is just past Garza, that they have a permit to. I don't like him, by the way, because of course, every endangered species that finds a way into a bar, suddenly it's aphrodisiac, and it's a bunch of crap.
Everything.
Exactly. The excuse is that everything is aphrodisiac, but it's just, when I try stuff, I try to taste. I try to find the delicacy in it, and they're jellyish, and they're sandy, and of course you put a ton of Tabasco in them, and you're down with the beer
with a little guaro. Do they put a guaro? I mean, that seems like a terrible idea. It's just
Yeah, it's just I don't find it particularly good, worth it to have him there. It's just like a macho thing.
Right. It's not a caviar.
It's not a caviar, and I wouldn't. Well, not well. Listen to this. You think that the turtle, the hatching of the turtles is something that's only happens 1 or 2 days, once or twice a year, and you have no access to it. We are 20 minutes away from beaches that I do recommend for those who haven't had that pleasure yet. There's a lot of organizations that responsibly relocate the eggs few times a year, and they take good care of the nests, and I mean close to Playa Grande and Minas and Bahía Los Piratas, which is called Playa Real. All of those beaches, there's a lot of organizations and volunteers doing a great job helping them out, because all of these beaches along this coast at some point or the other were full of turtles,
Yeah, I'm sure Potrero was too. The cars on the beaches and things like that kind of crushing the nests. I think a lot of people don't know that that's why you don't drive on the beach, because you can impact those nests and block those turtles from getting out.
Listen, I remember once, and now all the...
we should keep it a little more upbeat, probably, too. Not just talk about dead turtles.
The visual contamination, all the lights and everything will probably drive them away.
And it's still... But we still do have... I mean, I've had turtles come up in front of the sailing center. And I know that... I wonder about if the turtles are confused if their eggs are transported, because if they're born on a certain beach, they come back to that beach, don't they?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. 40 years ago, they hatched over here in Potrero. So that is one of the things that you never forget. Actually, to see the big turtle hatching her eggs, and also the little turtles trying to make it
coming out to the water. That's really special.
But the thing that impacted me the most is all the predators trying to get to those baby turtles, and the impotence that you cannot really interfere with nature. And
it's part of their food cycle too. The frigate birds, the terns, the fish,
iguanas, and
the iguanas, right?
Vultures, everything's out to get them. It's really a miracle how those turtles get it. So going back to Bocas, to the original.
I've never eaten a turtle egg. I had some interest, just culinarily, if that's a word. Not really sure, but
missing much.
Good. All right, I'll just skip it.
Yeah. You're not missing much. But there are bars with boca still. But the thing is, the ceviche made it out of the menu, and that's why
because fish prices have gone up.
Yeah, fish prices have gone up, and the fish population has gone down. So that's basically it. But it's a memory now, and it's something that I find heartbreaking to go into bars, and if it's not an imported tank fish imported from Asia, fed probably things that you don't want to put in your body, if it's not that, it probably won't be available. So to have the only way that I've had ceviche, mahi, sea bass, snapper, is if the owners of the bar probably have their own fishing boats, and that's a treat, and a tico ceviche, and I'm gonna shift into ginger ale in a little bit, and I'm telling you how ginger ale made it into the ingredient section. The only ingredients in Costa Rican ceviche are lime, salt, cilantro.
Yeah, I'm stealing some of your beer, bro.
Please, go ahead. Bell peppers and onions, and that should be it. Originally, it's probably the bartender cilantro. While he's chatting. Cilantro.
We say that. Yeah.
Cilantro, bell peppers, onions, limon, mandarina, tangerine, lime, and salt. That's us. And patacones, warm patacones, salty patacones with a nice beer, freshly made. That's all you need. Why did people start putting ginger ale now? This is new, and this really sucks.
It's an abomination.
Ceviche in no place in Latin America is supposed to be sweet. Now, the only sweetness that I would take on a ceviche is the sweetness of a little bit of tomatoey tomato juice in case you want to make it like a cocktail, but not extra sweetness added. Now, what happened in bars? You would get those big buckets of ice cream that people don't discard and keep at home to whatever.
I do indeed. Yeah.
So you go into the beer fridge at a bar, and right beside all the bars, you would make a huge bucket of ceviche for all the patrons coming in. Right? You would have to make a ton of it. Now you make a ceviche for 50, and it's only only 30 come, and you got ceviche for 20 for the next day. But then you go the next day, you open your bar, and that lime juice has oxidated. The lime juice has turned bitter.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody had the genius idea of fixing it up with a
balance it out.
Yeah. With a ginger ale, and they give it another life. Now, I should mention my first ceviche that I ever made, which was in high school. I completely disappeared the ceviche. Completely disappeared because I thought everybody thought you had to cook the fish because who would eat raw fish?
Right.
Remember, Japanese. The only Japanese that were cooking those times in Costa Rica were teppanyaki tables, so no sushi, no raw fish.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody thought that raw fish would practically poison, right?
Yeah.
You would get sick immediately. So you thought that you had to overcook fish and leave it from one day to the other because it would be marinated fish, practically cured fish. So there goes sea bass and red snapper. You cannot. The next day I had a mush. It was completely
like a fish porridge.
Totally, I destroyed it. And the friends who I made the ceviche actually told me, well, you should consider other options. Not cooking. Cooking's not for you. But then I'm like, okay, I didn't get this
all
right.
Hey, you gotta break a couple eggs to make an omelet, man.
Totally, but
I feel like that. I think people are afraid of making mistakes, and there's nothing wrong with mistakes.
How else do you learn?
Yeah.
So then people started using marlin, swordfish, sailfish.
I've heard that marlin is actually one of the Costa Rican favorites for ceviche.
Yeah, it is. But
how do you feel now? How do you feel about that? I know as a professional guy who deals with seafood on a regular basis, you know that marlin, sailfish, they like to return those things to the sea all the time. There's a lot of bread and butter that comes in for the professional fishermen. But I mean, the ocean is full of marlin and sailfish these days because nobody's keeping them, nobody's catching them, but they're delicious fish.
Yeah, and
I don't know how. I don't want anybody mad at me, but
the reason that they use is not particularly because of the taste; it's because of the texture. Because it holds on lime, it doesn't disintegrate. It's
firm.
It's firm. It's fattier, and it'll hold on lime. That kind of fish, if I'm gonna enjoy it, and it's great for grilling. It's great for sautéing, but you really have to watch. Like it's same thing with a wahoo, a fisherman's fish. You really have to watch your cooking time because if you overcook it, they're super dry.
Yeah. Now I know one of the local fish purveyors, and I keep asking him for wahoo, and he says, "Yeah, I'll try, but Jose gets all my wahoo." So I feel like you're being a little selfish, and I just like to point that out here live on camera.
Well, thank you, thank you. Well, how
many people are you feeding up there every day?
On a normal day, around between 80 and 120. Mm-hmm. Our space is limited, and we have
the beautiful space.
Thank you very much. And between the town of Las Catalinas, which might have 1,500 people there on a normal day, and our wonderful friends in Potrero, Flamingo area. It gets filled up pretty quick. We would love to have a little bit more space so everybody can enjoy the magical sunsets.
You're up there on the peak of that mountain that's just jutting out into the middle of the sea. So the views are about as spectacular as they can get.
Yeah, thank you so much. And
You didn't make it, you know.
no, I know, I know. I try to make the best of it.
No,
but
yeah,
you know what? You know
it's a
what's
good start.
Thank you. You know what's equally as mesmerizing? The views in the morning. To have a breakfast there at 7 in the morning with the sun coming from behind the mountains, from Castillo de Lilo comes the sun over there, and just lighting up that beautiful bay in Sugar Beach and Las Catalinas. Breakfast is just equally as mesmerizing.
Really? I never thought to come for breakfast. That's a nice idea.
Yeah, and also a moon sets. When the moon sets and it turns the ocean all platinum.
Wow.
It's wonderful up there. We have a challenge in Casa Chameleon service wise, and I need
What's that?
I need to apologize if by any chance anybody hasn't received the best service, because we have a rush hour of, oh my God, between 5:30 during sunset and
everybody wants to
7:30.
see that view, right?
Exactly. Everybody wants to be there at that time, and everybody, doesn't matter how you try to slice it, or doesn't matter how you try to lead guests. Everybody, the sun goes down and they want to eat at that time. So I could have 100 servers and 100 cooks. That there's just, it's too much of a rush, and we try to do our best.
That's a challenge. That's a challenge.
Sometimes
for a place like that, that's so driven by the view and everything. I mean, obviously it's driven by the food too. Everybody has rave reviews for your place, but to have a place that's so spectacular, the views, then I imagine, as soon as the sun goes down, everybody says, great, my cocktail's done. We're all going to order right now. The sun just dipped below the horizon. It's time to order food, and you must get every ticket up.
And we try to space it out. We try to, with our restaurant managers, to recommend to people to order at this time, or maybe, we have a number of people for every 15
you're
minutes.
You're not a rookie at this. You have opened a number of restaurants. You've consulted for hotels and things like that, and it's just a challenge wherever. I think everybody should just be patient and kind.
Well, and sometimes, you have to remember why you go out to dinner and why you take your precious hard-earned cash and go for a nice experience. Have a good time. And we have our interviews. When we interview our staff members, at least my part of the interview, if they're there, I know they have waited at the table before. If they made it past HR. And same thing with my cooks. And I just sit down and have a coffee or a soda or a lemonade with them. And, I just try to meet the human being. If the person is nice, and I feel a good energy from the person, everything else is teachable. I tell everybody intention, initiative, and attitude. Those I cannot provide to you.
That's a nice criteria.
And everything else, it's our job to teach everybody and to get really nice servers that represent our culture well. To get naturally good, kind people to enhance the experience.
I think that's the beauty of Costa Rica. There are so many super kind people here. That's I think what makes it so appealing, and not to throw my people under the bus, but a lot of North Americans come down here, and they want it to be exactly like in the States, but with Costa Ricans, and it doesn't work like that. You need to adapt and be more Costa Rican if you're going to move down here, and you're going to be a lot happier when you do.
Totally agree with you, but it's not exclusive to our friends from up north. People from the Central Valley that come here, it's customary to see people coming into a restaurant wherever, and the first thing they do is compare. And I think that's unfair, because you're not back in San Jose, you're not back in Chicago, New York, you're not back in London or Madrid. You're somewhere else, and there's people trying to make a great effort to propose something to you, and that is friendliness, that is service, that is some food, and you have to take it like it is. If you don't like the experience, it's your decision to not come back, but the attitude should always be like that. You know, let's give them a shot to see
Sure.
how it is.
I think a lot of people come into a restaurant, you know, they come in with their problems already, and they're, you know, sometimes a restaurant can solve those problems, you know.
Agreed.
If your staff is really great, they can make you relax to a point where you forget about your bad call with the accountant and your you know, other stuff that's going on in your life. I think a restaurant can be a real special experience.
Agreed. And sometimes I tell my kids, listen, guys, sometimes if the food is taking a little bit of time to come out, you have a bunch of dupes out that, I mean, 20 top tables and stuff like that, and you're stuck in a smaller table behind those dupes. It's going to take a while. Sometimes the service will pick us up. Sometimes when the service might be a little bit slow and you try to make the best food possible, the food will pick it up. We have another factor, Justin, nowadays here in Costa Rica, and Costa Rica is becoming, and has been for a while, a destination for very high-end tourism. There's a little bit of everything from Airbnbs to small cabinas with nice local sodas, but also the big well-known chains of hotel, the Waldorfs, the Four Seasons, all of those big, now the Discovery Project coming in, and the bunch of others over at Papagayo. And now that is a tourism that expects to compete worldwide with worldwide quality. So for those, you really need to step up your game and try to offer the highest of standards of service. And it has happened to me when I have taken some of those guests and try to provide a tasting menu or a private table. Their biggest worry is not what it's going to cost. Is if you can reach to their standards, right? So if there's good enough product and good enough service and good enough experience that you can cater to those budgets, and it is what it is. It's not less or more important. It is just a different client. And
I think that, I mean, I correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Costa Rica, as far as produce and seafood and poultry and meat and stuff, has the equal of any place out there if you use that stuff correctly.
Costa Rica is we don't have a strong culinary identity as Mexico or Peru, so to speak.
Right.
Costa Rica, I mean, our indigenous heritage is about 3% of the population, maybe even less. I'm sorry, it's African Americans 3. It's about 1% of the population. It's small, so we don't carry a lot of indigenous culinary.
Are there any kind of indigenous recipes or ingredients you can think of right off the top of your head that you do incorporate into your food?
Besides gallo pinto.
Besides gallo pinto.
And gallo pinto, it's, I mean, there's a big debate. Where is it coming from? The rice coming from the Orient, and the beans coming from Africa that came in the pockets of the slaves through the Caribbean, right? So somebody mixed them up, and you've got different rice and a bean in the Caribbean, arroz con gandules in Dominican Republic, and in Puerto Rico, rice and lentils, rice and something. So just somebody mixed up arroz y frijoles, and you have in Cuba, you have moros and cristianos, which is separate, and you have congri, which is a gallo pinto in Cuba. So it came through the Caribbean, but we're in the southernmost tip of the cultural region of Mesoamerica, the Nicoya Peninsula. So from the Nicoya Peninsula up until Mexico, there's a lot of corn. So you will find a lot of corn products and a lot of similarities in the diet that goes way back. That's why in a lot of little towns along the streets, you have all those panelas and rosquillas and all those
rosquillas.
All those beautiful corn products, and you have chicheme, and you have pinolillos, and You have corn beverages, and a lot of corn, and of course those beautiful tortillas. If you haven't gone to Santa Cruz to Las Tortilleras, the ladies that make over wood fire breakfast with fresh made tortillas, it's one of the most delicious breakfasts you can have here, with some natural juices and some nice coffee, and it's as rustic as it can be. So yeah, there's a in the Caribbean, of course, you have in the Caribbean of Costa Rica, you have the Caribbean food. It's like really, the tastes are wonderful. They're amazing, and a little bit more spicy, a little bit more.
Now that's an interesting thing. I think a lot of Costa Ricans. It's my understanding, as I've seen, that Costa Ricans do not love the spicy, by and large.
Well,
what do you think that is? Like compared to like Nicaraguans eat a lot more habaneros and stuff like that.
Sure, but like for example, in our employee quarters at the hotel, you put a hot sauce or a chilero, which is like a pickling of hot peppers, and they will disappear it in a meal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the working class absolutely loves it, and they will go for it. It doesn't matter how. I mean, we're not talking the hot pepper eating contest in Hemingway's that we one of probably my favorite activity of the year.
Yes,
the most fun I've had in a long time. But it's just you put a hot pickling in a gallo pinto and in your casado and in your.
But not everybody. Like I've my friend Jorge and a bunch of guys from a little further away from the coast. Man, if I put garlic in there, if I put a pepper in there, no, thank you. They cannot. They can't do it.
But still, I would say about my guests are 99% from the U.S. and I cannot heat up stuff too much. Mm-hmm. Everything has to be on the side. So
we're all dead inside. Well, we've been cooked.
And the problem, us hot pepper lovers or hot sauce lovers, is that then suddenly food doesn't taste if you don't add hot pepper to it. If you don't put a little bit of heat on it, it won't taste like anything, and you think that you're lacking. And it's just, well, the saltiness and the pepper factor of a meal, it is the balance. It is the balance that helps your taste buds reach another level, and it will enhance some flavors. And if done right, nowadays, luckily in Costa Rican markets, you go into Mercado Bourbon or the Central Market, you probably can find any pepper in the world over there.
The Central Valley of Costa Rica has got to be one of the most beautiful growing regions anywhere.
Totally. The area of Salcedo, you've got one of the most beautiful farming areas in the world in Salcedo. I mean, it's just grasslands everywhere and the perfect climate. You go to Cartago region, from Cartago all the way down to Pérez Celedón, and it's just, if you go to Pérez Celedón, you're like, how is this place not more popular? Not more people live around this area. It's just beautiful mountains. And you go to La Feria del Agricultor, the fair, the food, the ingredient, the market there, which is on Thursday evening and Friday evening.
Which town?
Pérez Celedón, which is in the San Jose province, south where the Chirripó mountains are. And you go to that fair and you see all those huge vegetables and all the colors and one of my favorite activities to do in Costa Rica. I'm going to put that one on my list. Please. Yeah. One of my favorite, probably my favorite food activity in Costa Rica is to go to those markets, to the weekend markets. And there's a mystique in each and every one of them. I used to take guests to the Santa Cruz market and pick some stuff up. And depending on the region, you find different stuff. Pick some stuff up and bring it back to a hotel and cook it for them.
What are your favorite things to see at the market, for Costa Rica?
I recommend to people that if you go to the markets, my favorite ones are the higher the altitude, you find, more variety of products. But then you get limon. The one in Cieneguita in Limon is about as colorful as you can get, because limon is always green, and you have all kinds of fruits, unimaginable fruits that you can find there, and hot peppers and the guys making coconut milk in front of you. from scratch. And my number one recommendation to anybody is to go hungry and find the little soda or the little place to eat and just have a nice empanada or some gallo pinto or have some coffee. I never go to a market on a full stomach because it's inexpensive to go and have a nice breakfast there.
I don't find that is true. Whenever I go to the market hungry, I always spend a lot of money.
Well, yeah, you always bring back more than you need, but it's
your eyes are open. You can think of all the possibilities.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears a little bit, and take a breather, take a drink. This is delicious Potrero Brewing.
It is
my one and only sponsor, and I do appreciate you guys. Let's talk real quickly. We asked you, and you kindly obliged by being one of the judges for the chili cook-off and the chili eating contest last year. And we always have 3 judges for the chili contest at the Sailing Center. I think we've done 6 or 7 of those now, and I can't remember. We had about 12 entries this last year.
Yep.
How was that experience for you?
Oh my God! Oh well, colorful, and I recommend anybody that hasn't been there to mark it on your calendar because it's as much fun as I mean, by the end of the day, you're exhausted by laughing and trying great food and all those flavors, exciting flavors. There's some very skilled cooks here locally.
We do have some good cooks here.
God,
one of the judges both of the other judges are obviously excellent cooks, but I think of Leslie. Leslie is like one of those real talented home chefs.
Yeah.
Who's making her own vinegars, who's making her own everything. Yeah. And it's a great place. I think Costa Rica especially is great for people that love food.
She's a treasure.
And she's opinionated as well.
She is certainly, but she's one of those cooks by heart that you want to be around and pick her brain and listen to, because I mean, we forget that the most sometimes we forget that it's not the guys that like me that do it professionally. It's people that do it 3 times a day at home for their family that get the less recognition sometimes. Our moms, our grandmas, our whatnot. Some dads that are cooking for their kids. But
they've learned valuable lessons in their time.
Totally, and they perfect them, and they have their favorites, and their favorites are probably gold. That's why it's so interesting to meet colleagues, fellow cooks, and the judges. That they were amazing. It's so hard because the good thing is that you organized it very well, where it was a blind test, and you're not looking at anybody. You don't know who you're trying. It's just a blind test, and we all had our different opinions, but when we tried the eventual top, 5, we were pretty much in accordance that those were the ones that we liked the most. And the difficult part of judging, and the few times I've been a part of a contest being a judge, is that the number one thing you need to remember, that it's not your personal taste that you should be judging. You should be judging as fairly as you can do it, in not what you like personally, because I've been in some contests that people say, oh, I don't like mussels, I'm not gonna grade this dish very, very well. I'm like, don't do that because you're not brought here for your own personal taste. You're brought here to judge on quality.
How did they do what they did with what they had?
Exactly. Now, what are you going for, and did you get it right?
I have to tell you, I as the MC for the event and the organizer for the event, I want to make it the best event that I can. I want to make the most fair that I can. But when my wife won both the Judges Award and the People's Choice Award, there was definitely a war inside of me. But I was like, no, this cannot be. Everybody will think that we cheated. And
Yeah.
and I told my friend Erica, I was like, I don't know what to do. Patricia can't win both of these. And I think Erica had a beer or two, and she's like, she won it fair and square. You can't take it away from her.
Yeah, it is what it is. It was quality. It was quality, and it was balanced, and it was great. You know, it's and I would not do it any other way, because there's I have to say that it was so close in every category, and it was a lot of differences. And sometimes, you know, a little thing like doing it too early and reducing it too much, it will change the texture of the beef, for example, and it'll make it a little bit tougher. Or sometimes the cooking of a bean, or you know, it's just very little things that made the difference, but it was fair and square, and it was amazing.
Thanks for reiterating that. I appreciate it. You didn't get paid any extra money to vote for her. So.
I got a beautiful magnet on my
Everybody got the magnet
on my cooler. Yeah, that magnet's cool. But my favorite part of the day, I mean, and I know everybody's, is the hot pepper eating contest.
Ooh.
It's just a blast. I mean,
but it's so painful, because you know, those, even the regular little Tabasco chilies, you know, you eat one of those and they're incredibly painful. And the guy Ryan Billab, who's been on the show several times, is the curator and grew all those peppers, and it's brutal. It's brutal, and you know how much those people are suffering, and it's fun to watch.
No, but Justin, to be honest with you, I work with hot peppers every day, and I couldn't make it past maybe the third or fourth.
Oh no,
it is
me
just
neither.
Brutal. And then when I had never been on a hot pepper eating contest with kids, I'm like, what are these guys doing? How are they getting?
I believe.
And they were so brave.
They're so brave, and they're.
They were really dead serious.
Crying and vomiting. I mean, it is the greatest spectator sport available in Costa Rica. Prove me wrong. And I think that it's important, like those. I think
watching other people suffer.
The reason the kids do it, I know, is for the custom machete.
Oh yeah,
that they get. Right.
Yeah.
Every kid wants machete.
Which kid doesn't want a beautiful machete?
They're so proud. They are so proud.
And so, you know, the first thing that I was wondering, and all of us first timers that were there were like, how are parents doing these to their kids? And I was right next to somebody that asked a mom, like, madam, why are you doing things to your son? And she's like, he wants it so bad. I mean,
they want the machete.
They want it so bad, and they were dead serious.
Yeah,
but it's fun. I mean, the faces people make, and the way they start to change colors, and they go from green to purple to red, and then they start just sweating.
You let it sit. You know, I like to have a little momentum with the event and stuff, but really, if you just let them sit there for an extra 10 seconds, that's the worst thing you can do to them.
And people try to be cool. People try to play cool, and they start sweating softballs, and they start, you know, struggling, and they try to take a step forward and try to quit.
They're like, I can do it. I can do it.
It's fun, man.
That one.
Then I cannot even think of the next day. The
no, let's not even go there. Yeah, it's terrible. That the kids contest this last year ended with one kid vomiting, and then
two young Godzillas,
a bunch of green bile and old chilies coming out, and then the second kid immediately started.
What the hell? I was holding it in. The second kid goes, I was holding it in, but let's go. Let's go.
Right, and I was thinking, well, that kid lost. And then Jeff jumps up, my partner, Jeff, he says, two winners. And I think that was the right call.
Well, they both vomited.
Yeah, they did. But
one right after the other.
One went first.
Yeah, one went first.
But I think it was a good call to give them both a machete.
Yes, and I remember all these young little girls that went into the contest. I'm like,
Oh,
oh my
yeah.
God, I
Oh, I
feel
love that.
feel like such a wuss. I mean, you got 5 and 6-year-old girls having some of the hot peppers, and here I am, an old cook, and I couldn't even go through the second or third one.
Oh, you have a more sensitive palate, let's say, you know.
Oh, thank you.
I love that part of the kids contest where, you know, we start out with 25 kids. After the first 8
A whole school
seconds,
bus.
we're down to 5.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They're like, no, not for me, Mom. I tried. I gave it my best.
Yeah, and they got their refrigerator magnet.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
and that's what everybody wants to get out of out of the contest.
These are the kind of things that you want to see in a community to bring everybody together. I met so many new friends that day, and so many cool people from the community, that these are the things that it should happen once a month, something like this.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
You know, well, Tamarindo has a night market, and maybe somebody, you know, a group of people can get together, do a fun night market around here with foods and live music and stuff
wouldn't that
like
be
that.
great?
Oh yeah, they're doing it in Playa Grande. I went, I think it's on a Tuesday. I went a couple Tuesdays ago, and they have live music, and they have the food trucks and some beer and some arts and yeah.
It seems like that's what they should do in Potrero at the Salon Comunal.
Salon Comunal.
Don't they have one in Flamingo?
They do have the Monday market in Flamingo, where I think they sell pot brownies and there's some jewelry and some
That's
music
the only
and
reason
stuff.
I go is the pot
Okay,
brownies.
yeah. No, it's fun.
Nice. Well, maybe Potrero and Flamingo can team up together and make one and make
It
it
would
a
be
little
nice
bit
to have
bigger.
something little. Where do you live? Do you live in the neighborhood here, or do you
Yeah,
drive?
and I live in actually 50 yards from the sailing center.
Don't say too specifically. You know, you never know what weirdos are going to come
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, well,
Our
I've
audience.
got enough beer.
respectfully.
I've got enough beer.
Oh, good. Then tell me exactly where you are.
Yeah, so I rent close by.
Well, you come down to the sailing center and paddle often. How many days are you paddleboarding?
About 4 times a week. You
Oh,
know,
that's
it's
great.
such a blessing to have this beautiful bay, and we haven't had any red tides this year.
You take advantage of the ocean and being out on the water as much as anybody in the neighborhood. You know, you should be proud of yourself.
Well, thank you. It's you know, it's really a blessing to have all these beaches and have good people like you guys taking care of our oceans and making the best of it and enjoying it. You know, without a lot of impact. And it's just I like the efforts of people putting recycling bins around town and trying to keep everything crazy, because we get one shot at this. We only get to take care of our home, and this is not for Costa Ricans. This is not for locals. We got one planet. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are. You need to take care of it as well as possible, so we can all enjoy this beautiful ocean. You know, to Guanacaste, I always tell guests, Guanacaste has a smell. That 5 o'clock breeze when you're driving with your window open, and that smell from the grasslands comes in your car, and you that, you know, country smell, and then the ocean, all these amazing beaches that we have around here, and you know, you've got every activity on the ocean that you can dive, you can sail, you can snorkel, you can surf, you can play soccer at the beach, you can spearfish. I mean, the ocean is a huge part of this province, and it's magical. I mean, Guanacaste it's a very complete province. There's a lot to do in Guanacaste, but the ocean's a huge part of it.
You haven't spent your whole life out here. You grew up in San Jose, and you did you live in Guanacaste before you came out to Sentido del Norte?
Yeah,
in the Chameleon.
For the past 20 years, I've worked in small boutique hotels in Guanacaste and Punta Arenas. So yeah, I've basically worked in the coast for the last 20 years. I grew up probably until I was 18 in San Jose. I was in a boarding school. But
Because you were bad?
well, I had a lot of. Well, back then it was called bad behavior, but all these
All
learning.
chefs, I think.
Exactly. Well, all these learning challenges that nowadays are identified. Back then, it was just you didn't pay attention.
Acting out or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. Everybody learns differently, man.
Exactly. We all have a different channel, a different way of processing information. Some people do it by memory, others by learning, others with a little bit of help, and
others hands-on.
Others hands-on. But there's many channels, different channels how you learn. So I had a little bit. I can sit 6 hours in front of a blackboard and not remember a thing the next day. But you teach me how to do one thing, and I'll remember it for life. And back then it was very customary to just put 40 people in front of a blackboard and write things down, and I'll test you on your memory the next day or in a test. So that was that.
I think a lot of schools like that, it's just...
I prefer smaller schools where you get a little bit of help, and they actually take an interest on which is your channel, which is your frequency. How do you learn better?
That's a great way of putting it, your frequency.
Yeah, totally. We're made of 75% waters. We all have frequency. We respond to different frequencies. That's why for some people the ocean is so calming, and the wind and the nature out there, it just goes into your frequency, and you're more open to learning, you're more open to feelings, you're more open to consciousness, and that for me is fascinating.
That is a beautiful way of putting it, Jose. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Yeah, so then I left for the States. I got into a good school of hotel management.
Oh, you went to Cornell, didn't you?
Well, I took some courses there.
Okay.
It was my dad's school. My dad passed when I was very young, so I always wanted to go there. I graduated from Lynn University in Boca Raton, hotel management. I did some hotel managing for about 7 years here in the coast, in Ocotal, and in a cruise ship. And then I was always in the kitchen and the restaurant. And I went to cooking school in Paris, France, and completed the Cordon Bleu course there for about a year and a half. Stayed there working.
What a great experience! Yeah,
it's amazing just to have the opportunity to be out there in Europe with all these markets and all these wonderful places,
oysters and everything. Okay,
everywhere.
Here's my question.
Yeah.
The chefs I know, what does your refrigerator at home look like? Is it full or is it empty? And what do you cook when you get home?
Well, depends which home, because I rent here, but my wife and kids are in San Jose. I'm gonna go with not my home here because I have a few fruits, an open bottle of wine, and
half full jar of Dijon mustard, and
exactly some cheese for any midnight snack, and that's about it. But
some olives.
Some olives. Yeah, there's always room for olives.
Yeah.
And some leftover pastry from some session.
But if you're gonna cook for your family, if it's somebody like, what's your favorite things to cook?
Home, at home, I always have pre-cooked spaghetti. I have things to make a salad. I'm talking about lettuce, tomatoes, some rice, and maybe a lentil or a chickpea, something like that. Simple. At home, we like to eat things that you're used to, that you don't get bored, that maybe a little bit of tomato sauce for a quick pasta. The kind of things that you never get tired about. A little bit of gallo pinto and fruit. That we eat at home, my kids, my wife and me, very as simple as you can. So it's always quick to heat something up and to make for the kids, and you have to make the lunch bills for the next day, and you want to keep it simple, because I work with such complicated ingredients and all these flavors and stuff that it's not enticing. What I miss is just family at the table, family time at the table. That's
sure.
It's not what I have in front of me. It's the time, the
sharing
time.
The meal.
That's it.
Sharing the food.
Doesn't matter what it is.
That's important.
Might be milk and cookies. I don't care. It's just conversation with all electronics on airplane mode if possible.
Right. Kind of like this conversation. Hey, I think our talk today really took off, and you can back me up here, Tommy. When he unbuttoned his shirt, right? Am I right? Like
It's my favorite part.
Yeah, that's where the whole thing took off. Please don't change anything now.
Well, it's kind of
warm.
frisky.
Hey, Jose Lopez, muchísimo gracias. Thanks for coming in, man.
My pleasure.
I
My
really
pleasure,
appreciate talking to you, and I'm gonna consider your water vibrations theory more and more.
Yeah, it's we don't pay attention to it as much as maybe we should, but it's just the effect that you feel when you're inside the ocean and you want to stay there and you're wondering and you're floating, you're looking up at the sky and you're, what's going on? Like, let me tell you a quick story. From the hotel, the restaurant managers and the hotel managers, we went to Sensoria, which is close to Rincon de la Villa. It's about an hour and a half from here on a decent car. Sensoria is a private property. You can go in and you pay the entrance, and it's about a 3-hour tour through some of the most beautiful rivers and waterfalls that I've seen in my life, and it is a tour I recommend for anybody. We went in, we brought some, it was like our yearly trip, the managers of the hotel, and we took a cooler with some wine, and we didn't make it past the first one. The first one was it's natural spring waters. It's warm, and they have a little deck, and it makes for a beautiful natural pool. We stayed there from like 3 p.m. until like 11 o'clock at night with no artificial light except for the stars and the moon, and just we couldn't believe that we were floating on a natural river, warm water, sipping some wine. And it's just the fascination of that water running through your body on the right temperature. Nobody wanted to leave. We would have had more wine. We would have stayed there for the whole night. And Guanacaste has, in Rincon de la Vieja area, has some of those places, the most beautiful waterfalls ever. You go into the national park. Oh man, I've been in a waterfall 4 hours, walking up close to the crater, on top of a waterfall, and it's clear water pools. And Rincon de la Villa is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to. There's so much to see, so beautiful, and it is that effect. You go into, you feel that energy from the water, and you want to stay there forever.
Yeah.
You been to the park? Yeah.
I have Rincon.
Yeah. Rincon is beautiful, and there's.
I have a Dutch friend, Joost, and he used to do tours up at Rincon, and he had a big Land Cruiser, and he would take guests up there, and then there was one place you could drive on into the park, and I think you had to pay a little bit to get in, and he would drive to a place where there was a gate, one of the farm gates, and he would park there, and then he would tell everybody, "Oh, I forgot my key. Well, we're gonna have to climb over," and then they would come in the back way and go to Rincon and do his tours that way.
Oh my God, there's so many things to do. It's
spectacular, and that La Leona waterfall there is probably the most like people talk about adventure tours and tourism, like when you're going hand over hand over the up the cavern into the waterfall, so inside cool. of the cavern. So cool.
They in Rincon de la Vieja, they also make a couple of mountain bike races. I've gone a couple of times. Of course, I'm, if not last, next to last. But you go through. I do it for the joy of participating.
Beautiful up there.
And every time you cross a river, I put the bike on the side and I just start, chilling. And
no wonder you're last.
Oh my! Of course,
you're just chilling on the side of the course.
The organizers come and ask me, "Aren't you supposed to go somewhere?" I'm like, "No, man, I'm here. I'm here. I arrived. And I'm not competing with anybody, but Costa Rica, in that sense, when they do those mountain bike races, sometimes you go through the most beautiful rivers and natural pools and stuff that you just want to just stay there forever, and you forget that you're actually on a time on a time race.
We're lucky here, and we're lucky to have you in the neighborhood, my friend.
Thank you, Justin.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on the show today. Appreciate you.
It's my pleasure. Anytime, Justin.
All right, and until the next chili eating contest.
You know I have the will of a hooker. I never say no.
Thanks, Tommy. All right.
Thank you. Salud, guys.